Thank you for turning to 10, your news leader. 10 News Conference with Gene Valicenti continues right now.
Good morning, everybody. We're continuing with the author of Why Nothing Works, Who Killed Progress, and How to Bring It Back. He's in studio. That's quite the title. Marc Dunkelman, you're up at Brown as a fellow, correct?
That's right.
Now, before we start, so this book, it really are going after stagnation in blue states. Why nothing works.
Well, just generally around the country. I think that everyone's frustrated that we're not building enough housing, that we don't have enough high-speed rail, that we can't take advantage of the clean energy revolution. So across the board, blue states, red states alike, people are frustrated.
I guess like if I go to a blue state, I could find a red state, I'll find something that doesn't work if you look hard enough, right?
Sure.
But you're focusing on states like Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and others. So why is nothing working? What's the thesis of your book?
The thesis of the book is that for a long time, progressivism was about putting power in the hands of big government bureaucracies that could do big things. The Tennessee Valley Authority wired up all those poor farms in the Upper South. You got the Social Security Administration. You got big progress, the interstate highway system. All of these things are big progressive accomplishments. Then we get to the 1960s, 1970s, and progressives see that the establishment, the old people who are running things, aren't doing a good job. We got Robert McNamara sending us into war. We got Robert Moses plowing down whole parts of New York City. We've got urban renewal, and we've got lousy agricultural products that are causing birth defects. We've got all these problems, and progressives themselves say, hey, we got to put new guardrails around government. We got to make sure that these decisions that are allowing government to plow over whole plots of land and take land from people and build highways and clear slums, we got to put guardrails around that. And we've been doing that. We as progressives that's been our sort of modus operandi for the better part of several decades, and it's gone too far.
You said we as progressive. Do you include yourself as a progressive?
Yeah, absolutely.
Old progressive or new progressive? Because you seem to delineate. WPA, Social Security, you're right, a lot of Roosevelt Democrats, all the Roosevelt Kennedy Democrats, Johnson, Rhode Island, Cranston, Pawtucket, all those cities, old Roosevelt Democrats. But the new progressive is AOC, Bernie Sanders, they, them, pronouns, and on and on and on, DEI. So what happened? When did you go from one to the other? And is that the problem?
Well, I'd say that the problem is structural. You're picking which progressives you want to claim as the new progressives. There are a lot of progressives, Pete Buttigieg, Jared Polis, Josh Shapiro, Gina Raimondo, who are of a different ilk and are looking to make government work again. And I think they're in the spirit of the old FDR Democrats who wanted to get things done.
Okay, so you're saying there are some. Well, that's a big label, isn't it? Is that a damaging label to call yourself a progressive? I mean, in the era of Trump, he's fighting everything progressive. You put a P on it, and you'll win votes. By the way, Johnson, Rhode Island went for Trump. Fall River, Massachusetts. Big blue city. Went for Trump. So go ahead.
Well, I think, look, Democrats are, whether we like it or not, the party of government. Government's not working. It's just up to us to make government work. And we haven't done it. And we need to own that, and we need to fix it.
All right. Let's really narrow in why nothing works. Give me a list of what's not working right, because you just had the governor on the radio. He'll tell you some stuff is working right. He's not a progressive. He's more of a centrist, but he'll tell you stuff is working. So go ahead.
Well, look, in Rhode Island, for example, we've got a housing crisis. We need more places for people to be able to buy homes. If your children want to move back here, they want to have an affordable place that's not not where the value hasn't skyrocketed. We need to build. We need more supply. We've got a clean energy revolution across the country. We are able now, with wind farms, with hydropower, with all sorts of new forms of creating electricity, to replace old fossil fuel, carbon-emitting sources of energy. But the problem is not that we can't harness that energy, it's that we can't get it from the places that it's generated to the place where it would be used. We need transmission lines, but you can't build transmission lines because there's so many barriers to building. We need high-speed rail. There's no reason that it should take longer to go on the train to New York than it does to drive. But the truth of it, that's what it is, because we can't find new tracks, new ways to get a high-speed rail between Boston, Providence, and New York. Those should be things that government can do. It's things that government has done, but because of all these guardrails that progressives and conservatives have placed on government over the course of the last 50 years, nothing gets done expeditiously.
Okay, talk about these guardrails, because this is really, it's kind of the thesis of you, but what is it that if progressives have good ideas, and you've outlined some of the great great programs.
That's right.
LBJ, civil rights. You could argue the moon launch. All
Absolutely.
of them. You're saying progressives had a hand in that.
Yeah.
And conservatives listening probably wouldn't argue against most of those programs. They may argue against Social Security and to find an argument here or there, but in broad sense, where did it go wrong? And you mentioned these guardrails. Did the progressives push it? Did the new progressives ruin it? Where did it go wrong?
Well, the new progressives, old progressives. My view is that progressives generally wanted to do big things for a long time. They saw that in too many cases the programs had gone awry, that whole areas of a city had been plowed down for urban renewal or slum clearance, and that had been a disaster. That the highway system had gone through and ruined the South Bronx, ruined parts of Rhode Island, right? Like that there were these things, and so they wanted to make it sure that that the environment was protected, that housing was protected, that communities weren't disparately impacted by these various programs. So they created programs where there was going to be new reviews. You're going to have to do an environmental impact study. You're going to have to look at this and that. If someone who lives in an area that's going to be affected by a new project doesn't like it, they have a new right to sue. And the standard by which the judge would uphold their right to preserve their property instead of the government being able to do their big project was changed. So in all of these cases, it piles up and piles up and piles up, making it so that by the end, it's almost impossible for anybody, even with a good idea, to get their project done because anyone can object to it.
Progressivism run rampant, ruined the good idea.
Well,
Killed the good idea?
I think that progressivism is two ideas put together. One is let's give power to government to do big things, and two, let's protect people from a big government that's going to do big things.
Right.
And that these two things run against each other, and that we as progressives have forever been trying to balance these two things. It used to be that the impulse to do big things sort of predominated over the impulse to protect little things, and over the last 50 years, we've been so focused on being afraid of what government might do if it was empowered that we've rendered it impotent.
What's the recommendation?
Let's find a better balance. Let's make it so that we're not going to ignore the environmental impacts. We're not going to ignore historic buildings. We're not going to just give the government a carte blanche to do whatever they want. But we need to make it so that once someone looks at all of the issues, the environmental impacts, endangered species, housing preservation, economic disparities, that there is someone who is empowered to make the final call.
You consider yourself a moderate Democrat?
Yeah.
What would you advise the new progressives to become more like you, more moderate?
I think that
more willing
progressives
to bend?
No, not more willing to bend. I think that progressives of all stripes, whether you're on the far left like AOC, if you're a moderate like so many others, that all of us would benefit from having government work. Our reason for being is to use government to help people that can't help themselves, and if it doesn't work, it's not working for anybody.
You and I are taping on a Friday. And
Yep.
just today and yesterday, there were new polls that show AOC as the front runner for the presidential nomination next time around. They're snickering in conservative quarters. In fact, Senator Kennedy says, "Let her keep talking." What do you make of that? That's the new progressive, the face of the new progressive. They're putting her out there.
Well, I think
is that advisable or not?
I think I don't know who the they is. You're in the news media business. If she gets all the attention from you.
Well, the pollsters. There's new polls, that. Plus, she's running around Bernie Sanders, filling arenas. 12,000, 13,000 a clip.
She's got a constituency. There are some people who really like that, and you and your ilk in the media have chosen to make her the face of progressivism. There are a lot of members of Congress. We got Gabe Amo, we got Seth Magaziner, we got Sheldon Winehouse, we got Jack Reed. They've been there. Some not as long, others longer. They are the face of progressivism.
Well, then how come they're not running around Bernie Sanders holding rallies? Nobody's talking about them as the front runner.
That's your choice.
Gabe Amos pretty progressive. Jack Reed is willing to get down to El Salvador to help get Kilmar out, and Sheldon Winehouse tweets against Donald Trump every chance he gets.
I would say you should have them on the show and talk about them as much as
we do have them on regularly.
Do it as I would like you to have you ask about them as much as you talk about AOC.
Well, I don't know if you listen to my radio show. We talk about them exponentially more than we talk about AOC. AOC happens to be in the news today and yesterday with the polls showing that she could be a front runner.
We'll see how it all plays out.
Get back to my original question.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Is that good for progressivism?
I think
old, new, middle, and different.
All progressives would do better if government worked more effectively. We spend too much time talking about what we want government to do and not enough time time thinking about whether the mechanics of government are actually effective. Are people seeing that when we spend money, they're getting something out of it?
You worked in Washington, different positions. You also worked for the Clinton Foundation.
Yeah.
Bill Clinton was pretty moderate by today's standards, don't you think?
The moderate, progressive, we're all just saying words. The key here is that he spoke to the needs and concerns of working class people. Progressivism should be about that. At the moment, you're absolutely right that Donald Trump stole the working class vote from Democrats in the last election. That's been a huge change. And I think for all that we talk about DEI and you want to talk about this and that, right, the core of it is government has not been delivering for people.
Who gave us Donald Trump?
I think that we, as progressives...
Did the congressional delegation, whose members you just mentioned, did they give us Donald Trump? Did the progressives give us Donald Trump? Who gave us Donald Trump?
I think that Donald Trump is the country's reaction to its own frustration that government isn't working. And that progressives, rather than talking about this outrage or that thing or whatever, Donald Trump's going to do Donald Trump. Let's focus less on that and more focus on whether we can get government working so that people feel its impacts.
Well, I think we got it working this morning. Good lively debate between you and me.
I love it.
All right, now, if we want to read your book, it's called the complete title. It's a mouthful.
Yeah. Man, I even criticized on the way out here. Why Nothing Works.
Why Nothing Works. But then it's
Who Killed Progress, right, and How to Bring It Back.
And it's published by?
By Hachette Public Affairs.
And your name is Marc J. Dunkelman, and you're up at Brown as a fellow.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in. Good luck with the book. Hope you sell a lot.
Thanks for having me on.
You got it. Have you on again.
Great.